Well, here's an amazing story about Lag BOmer. It was in the War of Independence in Israel, which this was like in the 40s sometime in Israel. So the, before the War of Independence, so there were different stages. At one stage, the Iranian army, that was the best army, not Iranian, I'm sorry, Jordanian. The Jordanian army, which that was the best of all of the armies that were surrounding Israel. So they surrounded Jerusalem. They laid siege to Jerusalem. And you couldn't go in, you couldn't get out. Now, Jerusalem had a big religious population, a big religious community was there. And the two rabbis, I forgot their name. One of them was Rav Chazan or whatever they had. There was an Ashkenazic rabbi and a Sephardic rabbi. And the Jews were there. Now, it happened to be that there came, so the Jews were caught. They were inside. They didn't know what to do. On one hand, there was a small garrison of fighters there, of Jews from the army. The army was almost nothing back then, but they had weapons, and the Jordanians were afraid to come in. So okay, and in fact, they even tried to come in a couple times, and each time, one time somebody jumped on one of their tanks and threw a Molotov cocktail inside, and they got out, and that blocked the way. Whatever it was, so the Jews were surrounded, they were trapped, and the Jordanians were surrounding them. Any second now, the Jordanians didn't want to destroy the buildings because they knew that they were going to take over Jerusalem, and they wanted Jerusalem to be, in good condition because they were going to take it over. And so it was sort of a stalemate. But the Jews were in bad shape because they didn't have much food, and also not much ammunition. And the army, the army from the outside, they tried to get in a few times and they couldn't get in. They couldn't get into Jerusalem. Couldn't get in. So the Jewish army was too weak. Okay. Anyway, it came out that there was Lag BOmer was approaching, and the young men, they said, we have to make a Lag BOmer fire. So all the rabbis and everyone else said, you guys are insane. You make the fire. So make it in the daytime. It's a fire, Lag BOmer. You make a fire in the nighttime. You dance in the nighttime. You make it. You don't make it in the daytime. You make it as soon as Lag BOmer comes in. The sun sets. You make a fire. It says, but if you do that, then we'll be sitting ducks. They'll see where we are. They'll see everybody's gathered around. They have what is spotters or whatever it is, spies all over the place, and they're looking with binoculars. You do that, we're going to be finished. So they said, okay, listen, what are we going to do? We have to make a fire though. So they said, okay, we'll do it like this. According to Jewish law, you light candles, Shabbat candles, before Shabbat comes in. Before Shabbat comes in, you can light, half an hour before Shabbat comes in, whatever. So that's what we'll do. We'll light this, and it's still light. It's still light outside. It's getting dim, but it's still light. So we'll light this fire when it's still light outside, like you light Shabbat candles. Shabbat candles. The Lag BOmer fell in the middle of the week, and we'll light them, and then we'll dance a little bit. We'll make even a little march, but everybody's going to be quiet, and we'll dance a little bit, and before nighttime we'll put it out. What do you say about that? So the rabbi said, okay. So that's what they did. Of course, you'll see that it didn't last because Lag BOmer, it's just too happy. So anyway, so that was supposed to be the plan. So everybody brought rags and the sticks and everything like that, and they made a little march from one synagogue to the other synagogue. And as they did, so more and more people gathered together, and the rabbis were trying to tell them to keep quiet. And they sort of controlled themselves, and then they made this little fire. Somebody brought a little bit of vodka. They made a couple of chayams, and somebody brought a couple more boards and a couple more rags and a little more l'chaim, and they were dancing and singing, and they just forgot totally about time. And it became dark outside, and the fire became bigger, and they became happier, and they were singing at the top of their lungs, singing, and even the rabbis, everyone was so worried, and they just forgot about all the worries, and suddenly there started, cannons. The cannons started roaring. It was an attack. They were attacking, the cannons were attacking, and everybody realized, what have we done? We forgot about everything. They're going to attack us now. They saw where we were with the fire. I don't even know if they put out the fire. Everybody ran. The bombs were falling everywhere. Shells were, and all of the Jews ran into the synagogue. The synagogue was very strong building, and some lady came with little breads that she had cooked for Lag BaOmer. Little sort of, what is it? The little tiny littles of bread, and everybody washed their hands. And there was bombs going on all over the place, all over them, and they figured any second now the Jordanians are going to come in and they're going to kill and they're going to take us prisoner and what's going to be. And so, nevertheless, they ate and they went. They danced, and for about a half an hour inside of the synagogue, and about an hour, and that's it. The bombs stopped, the shelling stopped, this, and they couldn't figure out what happened. Something happened. Anyway, they couldn't figure out what happened. I hope that the electricity didn't go off. Okay, so okay. Afterwards, they didn't understand what happened, so they sent a representative out, and to see what's going on, and they saw that the Jordanians retreated. They ran away. They retreated. They moved their position like a mile back or something like that. So one of their scouts or something that happened, that he asked the Jordanians what happened, or he found out what happened. They said the Jordanians they retreated. They retreated, and in the end, what happened is that they ran out of food. So the rabbis came out with a white flag, and they say, "Okay, we're out of food. We're out of everything. We're coming, and we want to surrender, but on condition we'll give you the city, but we want all the inhabitants of the city to be free. You're not going to take them into prison." They said, "Okay, we'll do it. We do it," and that's what it was. All the people in the city, they all left, and the Jordanians moved in. But they asked them, "What happened? Why did you retreat?" They said, "Why did we retreat? Why did we retreat? Because we saw you dancing around this fire, and our spotters saw dancing around the fire. I mean, how could anybody possibly be happy when they know that in any second we can just attack and kill everybody?" We realized the only logical reason, the only possible reason you could be happy, you must have some sort of a secret weapon. You must have some sort of a secret weapon that you're going to use if we attack. And maybe you'll even attack us. And suddenly just fear entered into everybody's hearts. And we realized the best thing to do was to retreat. We retreat. And that's why we retreated. We retreated because we thought that your happiness must be you have some sort of a trick up your sleeves. And the fact is they did have a trick up their sleeves. The trick was Lag BaOmer. The happiness in face of everything. That's what won the battle. And that's what's going to win against all of our enemies with Mashiach. Now, have a good day. See you. There will not be a class tomorrow, Thursday. There will not be a class Friday. But on Sunday, there will definitely be a class. Lag BaOmer Sameach. God bless all of you with Mashiach now.